The 27mm 1.2 by Viltrox came out a couple of weeks ago, and I finally got mine in the mail, and I've done quite a few photo shoots with it for you guys and for myself because I've been very excited about getting this lens in, and let me tell you, it's got some good pros and just a few cons, and we're gonna go over those now. Con number one, very small con, but the unboxing experience was kind of tough. It's really hard to get the actual box out of the sleeve that the lens actually comes in, which is just funny that it's boxed so well that it's almost impossible to get it out. So once you get it out, it's even more exciting to open it. So I'm not sure if that's a pro or a con, but it was tough to get it out. Secondly, it's really funny to me that the 13mm 1.4 is not considered a pro in the Viltrox lineup, and it does have a metal lens hood, where the 27mm actually lacks a metal lens hood, and it's a pro version lens. So I think that the 13mm should either be considered pro or they should start giving us metal lens hoods. I understand that this lens is actually very heavy, and maybe they're trying to save on the weight of it, and that makes a lot of sense, but it's a small con, but it is a con. Another con would be the size. A lot of people will be upset about this, especially if you like Fujifilm lenses. If you will look at how small the 35mm f2 is compared, it is tiny, and this one's large. But if you look at the 18mm 1.4, it's not that far off, honestly. Although this one is a lot heavier. That is a con for some. To me, it feels great on the XH2, and I've tried it on the XT4 as well, and it doesn't really bother me, but some people get weird about front heavy and large lenses if you want to travel light. I can completely understand that being a con, so that's something to take into consideration if you're deciding to get this 27mm 1.2 Pro version. Now, let's get into my favorite part, the pros. Pro number one, the image quality. Superb, very sharp, even at 1.2, and all the corners sharp, which is insane to have a third-party lens that costs half as much as what you could get the 33mm 1.4 for by Fujifilm. Not only are the images sharp, they also have a nice color to them. It has a coating that makes it a little warmer, and I myself am a warm photographer, I would say. That's how I color grade, and it just suits my style very well. Being able to shoot at 1.2 is huge because you do get a nice blurry background, and that is something else I want to bring up is the bokeh is swirly, and that is something that you could only get in vintage lenses, something that you would have to manual focus. I don't see a lot of autofocus in lenses that actually give you that attribute or characteristic within the lenses. To have that on an autofocus lens is just amazing to me. It kind of sets you apart from the other photographers out there that have the clinical look, clean background and everything. This is different, and I absolutely love it. Another characteristic of this lens that you usually only find in manual focus lenses is the lens flares. It has this one specific lens flare that cuts through as a circle, and it's just this nice little red circle that I love so much, and I miss shooting my old Leica lenses because of that, and that's something that I have now in my hands that is autofocus. Speaking of autofocus, it's very fast on the XH2, and my camera is updated all the way, the newest firmware, and the eye autofocus on it tracks very well considering it's 1.2. I do miss a shot here and there if the subject's coming straight towards me very fast, but other than that, I haven't had a problem, other than sometimes it decides on which eye to go for, and sometimes it's the opposite eye of what I want, but you can fix that in your menu however you want that. But if you use single dot autofocus, it's incredible, it's fast, it's just spot on. And yeah, I haven't had a problem with the autofocus whatsoever. I actually did a video, you should check it out here, that did a whole entire photo shoot and show you the behind the scenes of what I was doing with this lens. I suggest checking it out while you are looking at the 27mm 1.2. The build quality of this lens is superb. You would think that somebody got pissed off at Fujifilm and decided to quit and go work for a third-party manufacturer and then started engineering their lenses very similar to Fujifilm. So let's do a test. I'm going to give you two different lenses to decide which sound is Fujifilm and which sound is Viltrox. And keep in mind that they do both have the same resistance. Number one. Number two. Tell me which one is one and which one is two. I'll give you 3 seconds. If you got it right, did you get it right? Number one was in fact Fujifilm and number two was Viltrox. The clicks are really nice and soft. They're not too loud. If you're in a wedding, that's very, very convenient not to distract anybody with your aperture clicks. A lot of people ask why the 40mm equivalent, and the answer is pretty simple. If you love the 35 and you love the 50mm, then it beats right there in the middle. You can still take great environmental portraits with this lens, and you don't have to have as much distortion whenever you get close to your subject like you would with a 35mm. So the 40mm is just, it hits a sweet spot and it just works. And I love that about this lens. And I love that about the 40mm focal length. I've been shooting it for a while on one of my film cameras that I did a review on that you should definitely check out, of the R3M by Voigtlander. What a cool camera, and that 40mm on there is fantastic as well. So I've kind of gotten used to it and I don't regret getting this lens whatsoever. I would highly recommend it to anybody who doesn't have a 35 or a 50, or somebody that wants a fast lens that you can take very pretty portraits with. So I recently shot a wedding and I had the XH2 and the XT4, and on the XT4 I had the 18mm 1.4, the XT2 I had the 27mm 1.2, and my lord, in my opinion, those are great. I don't use a lot of telephoto lenses, and I just really enjoyed having these coupled together. I got everything that I needed. The wedding was shot well and I had a lot of fun doing it. I've also done some more documentary work as well, and I had both of these focal lengths and it worked really good as a pair. But that's my shooting style. I'm not saying that that should be yours whatsoever, but for me, it works and I really enjoy it. So my conclusion for this lens is that it's definitely worth the price, and I would highly recommend renting one or borrowing one from somebody before you buy one, just to see if you like it. Or if you already love these photos that I've taken and shown you throughout this video, it might be a lens for you. It's something to consider if you don't have a good portrait lens and you want something with a nice shallow depth of field, or something that can gather a little bit more light. So I hope you guys enjoyed these photos and this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because it is free and it helps support this channel so much, and I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. Until next time, peace.